Hey there YouTube, we are here in the garage. I have right here the master cylinder that I had installed on the Gold Jeep. I had to take it off to fix a couple of issues, and I had cleaned it up and painted it because it was getting kind of rusty and nasty. So I sprayed it with some aluminum colored paint and kind of a light clear coat. So hopefully it'll stay looking a little bit nicer for a little bit longer. But anyway, I took it off to fix a couple of issues. I had two issues that I have found so far. First issue is that between this, or when I installed this and the cold air intake, I kept hearing a lot of like a really loud vacuum, like a loss of, like it was pulling vacuum from somewhere. And I always assumed that it was the cold air intake. People always said that they were noisy. So I just assumed that it was, kind of breaking in and making noise. Well, it turns out it was this the whole time. I did find a few other things on there that were leaking vacuum, but I fixed those, and they took away a lot of it, but there was still this really loud sound. So I found it after doing the Big 7 cable upgrade, and after I did all that, I jumped in the Jeep and started it up, and was standing on the driver's side looking around, and I could hear the vacuum noise. Well, after like searching, I found that the weep hole that I had mentioned in my other video, it's down under there, and it goes that way up into here. The gasket that I had made wasn't sealing, and it was up against this edge here. It wasn't sealing because there's still kind of an air gap. So what I had to do is I had to pull it off of there. I had to make another gasket, and then I went down to the hardware store, and this is just for faucets. I'm thinking that hopefully this red material will be kind of chemical and heat resistant if it's for a sink. There's some part numbers. I apologize for the lighting. I should have done that earlier, but this is the best I have right now. But I put this on there. I had to stretch it out and work it to get it back up against there, and once I reinstalled it, the vacuum noise is gone, and I can actually hear the engine running. So good for that. I did make another gasket. That helps out. So after installing it, I decided to bleed the brakes. And since this is a dual master cylinder and both bowls are separated, I just started at the front on the passenger side. And so I started working to bleed the brakes, and I noticed that they weren't bleeding too good. And then I went to the driver's side. It was the same thing, but then as I started looking around, I noticed that the pistons in the calipers were not retracting after not having pressure applied to the brake pedal. And so that kind of got me thinking, and I did some internet searching. I couldn't really find too much. I did find a small blurb talking about the piston, or the push rod for the master cylinder from the brake booster, and so about it being out of adjustment. I was like, well, no, I used my tool to adjust it. And then I started thinking, well, maybe there's some issue. So I rewatched my own video, and I kind of looked at this from the video, and I realized that this is wider than that, and that this sticks down inside of that dimple a lot farther than this. And I don't know if you can see it, but down inside of there, like right in there, there's a line, and that's where the edge of this is riding. Now this is the original push rod, and it's about the same size, pretty much the same size as that tool, and it fits down deeper into this dimple. So I realized that when I use this tool to adjust the push rod, this is going down deeper into that dimple than what this is. So it's basically like leaving this threaded out too much. So it's constantly putting pressure on this piston and not allowing the fluid to return into the bowl. So I went down to the hardware store. Luckily I still had the original push rod for that, and I found out what thread it was. I had bought a piece of all thread that was metric, because this is all metric, but I don't know what happened to the piece, but this is the same thread. I bought the piece of all thread, a couple of these little bolts, and some nuts, for both sizes, and then an acorn nut that is the same size as the original push rod. And so what I did is I took the all thread, and I had to buy a tap and a drill bit, and I drilled out the center and then tapped it to these threads, and then I threaded the acorn nut and Loctited it and tightened it to the end of the bolt, and then I cut the bolt to use just the threads, which it sounds kind of hokey, but it worked, and I threaded it all together and made my own push rod. I don't have it here to show you because it's installed on the Jeep. I used some Loctite on it, got it adjusted, hopefully, and I wanted to give it like several hours to cure because it is cold and damp and nasty outside, so I wanted to give it some time to cure up. So I'm going to double check everything before I put this back together, but I'm thinking that that's going to solve the issue. So between this fixing my vacuum leak and hopefully the new push rod fixing my brakes, hopefully I can get that thing going again. So yeah, well, basically that's it. What I wanted to bring to you guys' attention. I'm going to go ahead and wait for it to get warm up, get light outside. I'm going to reinstall this, double check everything, and then bleed the brakes and take it for a test drive, and then I will, in another video, I'll talk about how it did and if I fixed the problem. So that's it for this video. Appreciate you guys watching, and till next time, y'all take care now.